Picture this. You're sitting on your bed at like 11:47 p.m., phone in hand. You open one of those credit apps, the one dark mode, dramatic music basically playing in your head, and boom, your credit score pops up. And it's not great, not catastrophic, but not the adulting number you thought you'd have by now either. And immediately your brain goes, yep, this is why I'm behind. This is why I can't get ahead. This number right here is the reason I'm stuck. Okay, that's literally you, right? Because that was me. And if you've ever felt stressed, embarrassed, or low-key judged by a 3-digit number on your phone, this video is for you. Because here's the thing, your credit score matters way less than you think. And I know that sounds insane. I know that sounds irresponsible. I know somewhere a finance YouTuber just gasped, but stick with me. Because by the end of this video, you're gonna understand why obsessing over your credit score is keeping you broke and what actually moves the needle financially. My name is Jay, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, debt, and why smart people keep making the same financial mistakes over and over again. If you're someone who feels like you're doing everything right, but still not getting ahead, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because this might be the most freeing money conversation you hear all year. Now look, I'm not saying your credit score doesn't matter at all. What I am saying is most people think it's the game, when it's really just the scoreboard. And if you focus on the scoreboard instead of the game, you lose. Here's what most people don't realize. A credit score doesn't measure how good you are with money. It measures how good you are at borrowing money. That's it. That's the whole thing. Your score goes up when you borrow money and pay it back on time, especially if you do it consistently and for a long time. It does not measure how much you earn, how much you save, how much wealth you're building, whether you're financially secure. In fact, some of the wealthiest people you know could have an average or even bad credit score. And some of the brokest people you know, amazing credit. This is where it gets interesting. According to Experian, the average American with a credit score above 750 carries over $16,000 in credit card debt. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve reports that nearly 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing. So let me ask you something. If someone has an 800 credit score but no emergency fund, no investments, and $20,000 in consumer debt, are they winning? Or are they just really good at staying afloat? Because psychologically, we confuse approval with progress. Getting approved for a credit card feels like a win. Getting approved for a car loan feels like a win. Getting approved for a mortgage feels like a win. But approval is not advancement. Approval is just permission to take on risk. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Jay, but credit scores affect interest rates. That matters. You're right, but not nearly as much as you think, especially early on. Let's do some math. Say you're buying a $25,000 car. With a good credit score, maybe you get a 6% interest rate. With a great credit score, maybe you get a 4% interest rate. That difference feels huge emotionally, but over a 5-year loan, that's roughly a $1,300 difference in total interest. Now, $1,300 matters. I'm not dismissing that, but here's the uncomfortable part. If you're buying a $25,000 car while making $45,000 a year, the real problem isn't the interest rate, it's the purchase. And this is where psychology kicks in. Focusing on your credit score gives you something simple to fixate on. It feels productive, it feels responsible, it feels like progress. But it often distracts you from the harder, more uncomfortable questions like, why am I relying on debt at all? Why don't I have cash reserves? Why does every emergency turn into a credit card swipe? Here's the thing. Banks don't reward people for being financially healthy. They reward people for being financially predictable. A person who carries a balance, pays interest, and never defaults is more valuable to the system than someone who saves aggressively and avoids debt. That's why someone living paycheck to paycheck can have better credit than someone building real wealth. Now look, I want to be very clear. Credit scores matter situationally. If you're buying a house, yes, they matter. If you're refinancing, yes, they matter. If you're trying to lower insurance premiums or get certain rentals, yes, they matter. But day to day, month to month, your cash flow matters more. Your savings rate matters more. Your behavior matters more. Because here's a shocking stat most people never hear. The average household income fluctuates by about 30% year to year. That means even if you make good money, your financial stability is fragile without savings. And your credit score does nothing to protect you from that. Credit doesn't catch you when you fall. It just lets you fall slower while charging interest. Let me tell you a quick story. I knew someone who was obsessed with their credit score, checked it weekly, optimized utilization, paid everything on time, textbook perfect, but they had $300 in saving. Then their car broke down, $1,200 repair. Guess what happened? Credit card score stayed great. Stress skyrocketed. Debt increased. Nothing about that credit score improved their life in that moment. Now, here's what actually changes your financial trajectory. 3 things. First, margin. Margin is the space between what you earn and what you spend. Most people don't have a credit score problem, they have a margin problem. They're living too close to the edge. Even an extra $300 a month of margin changes everything. It turns emergencies into inconveniences. It turns decisions into choices instead of panic. It gives you leverage. Second, liquidity. Cash is boring. Cash doesn't get TikTok views. But cash is freedom. A $5,000 emergency fund does more for your stress levels than a 50-point credit score increase. Money is the #1 source of stress for adults, and unpredictability is what drives that stress, not debt alone. Liquidity reduces unpredictability. Third, optionality. This is the one no one talks about. Optionality is your ability to say no. No to bad jobs. No to bad deals. No to bad relationships with money. Debt reduces optionality. Cash increases it. A high credit score with no options is still a cage. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so should I just ignore my credit score? No, but stop worshiping it. Treat it like a hygiene metric. Brush your teeth. Don't obsess over how white they are. Pay bills on time. Keep utilization reasonable. Don't do dumb stuff. Then move on. Put your energy where it actually compounds. Because here's the brutal truth. No one becomes wealthy because of their credit score. They become wealthy because of income growth, controlled lifestyle inflation, long-term investing, consistent behavior over time. Your credit score is a side effect, not the cause. And this is the final mindset shift I want to leave you with. Stop asking, how do I improve my credit score? Start asking, why do I need credit in the first place? Because the ultimate flex isn't an 800 score. It's not needing one. And if you take nothing else from this video, remember this. Build a life where your money works for you, not one where you're constantly proving yourself to a number. If this video challenged the way you think about money, hit subscribe. I've got more coming that might make you uncomfortable, but in the best way possible. I'll see you in the next one.